This is your Chargers linebacker, Daiyan, Henley, and you're tuning in with Chargers Unleashed.
Welcome to Chargers Unleashed After Dark. Dan Wolkenstein and Jason Balliet filling in for Jake Hefner on his day around the sun. Folks, if you want to go to wish him a birthday, it wasn't me who told you to, but you could. Just saying, one day before the draft. We are here live talking all things Chargers NFL draft, the vibes, how folks are feeling right now. We'll go through the Q&A, obviously. If you have not done so already, please hit that like and subscribe. Helps us out a ton. Jason, we're honestly at this point, what? At this point, we'll know who they picked in round one if they pick round one. How are you feeling?
Is Jake having the worst birthday ever after the news that's dropping today? Do you think he's just losing it over there?
He might be. He might be, honestly.
Poor Jake. Poor Jake. No, I'm having a good one. Just got home from work, threw some things together. The kid is right here with us. He might make a little bit of a appearance depending on how cranky he gets. But hey, when it's time, right?
Yes, and we're at DEF CON 1, according to Forgotten Lolcow, and another live show. Fam, you know how this goes. We love doing live shows because we get to engage with the viewers, the listeners. Give us your questions, your topics, your feelings, your anxieties, your thoughts, things you'd like us to discuss. We will weave this in and out throughout the episode. First off, though, let's kind of get through some of these comments because people are a little nervous right now, and I think some of the smoke and hyper thoughts that have come out, that's probably not non-alcoholic in your glass, given what has happened today. Folks are a little worried. I'm going to start this one off with our buddy Atir. He says he does not come on the show anymore because I don't like his questions every time he asks. Not true. And I never answer it. Also, I don't think that's true. I always ignore because I don't love him as a Chargers fan, so maybe he should be a Kansas City fan. Please don't be a Kansas City fan. Atir, ask your question. I promise Jason or I will find the question and we will put it here in the chat and we'll go through it. Daniel Bridges, yes, we do a super chat, and James Wagner backing us up. They appreciate everyone. The floor is offered. The super chat support first. So I think the story of the day, and this is probably what has it on everyone's mind right now. Daniel Bridges asks, you all hearing the Latham smoke?
Smoke?
Jason.
Are we talking smoke? I'm fine with smoke. We can talk smoke all day. I'm cool with smoke.
Jason, what do you make of the latest JC Latham smoke?
Smoke.
Is it only smoke? Is it only smoke?
I would hope so. Listen, I have nothing against players. I think every player offers something. We're not gonna diss. I'm not gonna diss any players here. I'm not gonna say, oh, that's a bust. That's horrible. It's just, man, you're already talking. We already have people comparing this to Clelin Ferrell and the Raiders reaching that far. What was it? 15 on the draft board consensus for Ferrell, and the same for Latham. It's a concerning thought. And James pointing that out, I did just watch that. What's funny is I was watching it on the way home before you told me, hey, you ready to do a stream at 5? And I remember they brought it up I think it's Latham at 5. I think it's happening. I was like, what? Yep. Who said this?
And the worst part was that was right after they were talking about all the smoke about Harrison and Neighbors and the back and forth between what people inside the NFL circles are saying about him. Is there legit? And I'm looking at the screen right now, and I'm imagining the life of a Chargers fan if for whatever reason those two are on the board and somebody thinks that the guy on the right is the best player available versus the guy on the left. I don't know what I would do with myself. And hell, even if we like go back and look at the guy who may not be there or may be there because Harrison's not, if Arizona goes with Marvin
some
Harrison
people
Jr.
have Neighbors wide receiver 1. That's a topic right now. That's like a wide conversation right now. There's a lot of NFL scouts, a lot of NFL receiving coaches, a lot of Steve Smith. And we all show Steve Smith all this praise all the time about what he is as scouting receivers. And he even has Neighbors as wide receiver 1.
Don't forget who said it in December. And I got so much shnikey for it.
And now I let you have your moment.
You were good. You kept quiet because you were like, this might bite me. And now, like 4 months, 5 months later, it's just like, holy smoke, literally, about Malik Neighbors. And we'll get to like Malik Neighbors and what that could look like and all of that. But I think Chargers fans are kind of freaking out. I mean, and I feel like I feel like there's mixed narratives I feel like there's multiple narratives being kind of jumbled into one. And the reason why I feel that way is because, like, on one hand, I know that this Chargers team with Jim Harbaugh is going to prioritize and emphasize developing and establishing an elite trench game. Like, I get that. I know that. I also know that this Chargers team is needing to improve its weaponry, especially on offense, and has lost a ton of talent on offense at the wide receiver room. Third narrative is this Chargers team under Jim Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz are going to be prioritizing best player available. Those are 3 separate narratives. Those are 3 separate discussions.
It's that third one that's key right there for me.
And so when people hear Chargers are going to prioritize offensive line because of Jim Harbaugh, they mix that with number 5. Versus, like, I think the offensive line priority is a very likely scenario in a trade back situation, because at 11, you could argue there are probably 3, 4, 5 offensive linemen to choose from who you can argue be BPA. And so people are applying the offensive line priority to number 5 versus just the offensive line priority to the Chargers. And so when you're hearing all the smoke about they love Latham and they love all this, all of that could be true, while also acknowledging that that's not at 5. Like, that's a separate scenario, or it could be. I think that's the case, especially with Latham. But it feels that way. Does it feel that, like, am I missing something? Like, is there any world that Alt or Latham or Alt, honestly, is BPA?
Alt, I can see somebody looking at Alt and deciding that, top left tackle in the draft, you can, regardless of what it is, top left tackle in the draft is going to hold some weight, right? Even if we're talking top right tackle at 5 is pretty crazy. And I get that the value of right tackle is rising in recent drafts. The value of finding yourself a good right tackle is rising. But again, the question you pose is can you argue that the right tackle, J.C. Latham, I'm looking at the mock draft consensus right now. He's at 20, or the big board consensus. He's at 20 right now, and his peak is 12.
Where's Neighbors and Harrison, or Dunze for that matter, or Bowers?
Neighbors is at 5. His peak is 1. Bowers is at 10. His peak is at 4. Harrison is at 3. His peak is at 1. And
Alt, where's Alt at?
Alt is at 8, and his peak is 5. So you talk about best player available, and we're not just talking about Neighbors and Harrison here. That's the issue. You're not just talking about you're passing on Neighbors and Harrison. You're talking about you're passing on Terrion Arnold, on Byron Murphy, on Brock Bowers, on Joe Alt, Quinyon Mitchell. Shoot, lay off
Roma Dunze. Like,
Dunze. You're passing on so many talented players to take, and I see the comment from Kyle here. Stop looking at mock drafts and look at Vegas. Look, right now I'm not so much talking about mock drafts right now. I'm talking about
this isn't a mock draft
player value. I'm talking about what you are bringing to your football team and what you are doing for the next 4 years, right? And what you're bringing Justin Herbert right now, what you're bringing this Chargers team right now. And you look at the state of this roster, and I don't know that I can justify J.C. Latham at 5. You're going to push every need you have back. Every need you have back. And, dude, O-line still might be a need after that pick.
It most likely would be, especially interior. Yeah.
So I'm having a hard time with that. And by all means, if they think he is the best player on the board at that point, I mean, I disagree, but I'm not going to argue your process. Like, okay, you took your best player on the board. It's just now we're going to have a different argument. That was your best player on the board? I mean,
yeah, which is a different question. And that is so not what you've seen in Baltimore with Ortiz for 20 years. Like, that just, you don't see the reach like that. It just doesn't exist. Go look at all those drafts. Okay. A tier, I promised. Let's get to this, and then we'll continue. If the Chargers trade back, a tier, I love you, my guy. I'm with you. If they trade back at 11, they take offensive line at 23. What's more likely, I believe he's asking, the Texas wide receiver, A.D. Mitchell, or Iowa corner, Cooper DeJean?
So I think it's fair to say I probably like DeJean a lot more than you like DeJean, and you like Mitchell a lot more than I like Mitchell, right?
Yep, that's probably fair.
So we're probably opposite sides there. I would say DeJean. I would love DeJean at 23. I think you would love DeJean at 23.
Yes, I would.
I think you would like Mitchell at 23. I would very much not care. I would not.
You wouldn't want that? You wouldn't want that? You think that'd be a bad pick?
I'm not saying it would be a bad pick.
Okay.
I'm just saying I don't like the risks there with the players that I think might still be on that board. Because as much as we like the highs with Mitchell, there's going to be some risk there.
Certainly.
When you could take somebody like...
You're drafting on potential with A.D. Mitchell, for sure.
Right. Whereas you could take a DeJean or a Kool-Aid, or you could take maybe Nate Wiggins or Amarius Mims, maybe Newton's on the board. You know, I have some questions there at 23, but I really like the idea of trading back to 11 and 23, because then you can assume that risk, right? Then you're like, okay, well, we got this pick at 11. Maybe they took Quentin, or maybe they took, let's see, who else is at corner, or maybe they took Arnold. You know, maybe they took one of those guys, Byron Murphy. And then you can afford to take that risk and go find a really high ceiling player that maybe it blows up in your face, but, you know, hey, you have Quentin that you took at 11, or you have Arnold that you took at 11, and then you can kind of assume that risk. That's the greatness about having more capital, is being able to take some risks in there.
Yes. Kevin A asks, can we just ignore the tackle at 5 talk? You can't have a $9 million backup in Pipkins. It's too expensive. It's insane. You take a mid-round tackle to replace Pipkins next year when he's cut or traded. I think there's one side that could possibly say, like, let's ignore the Latham thing at 5, because, like, to your point, it's not just that they're passing on Malik Neighbors, or that they're passing on, they wouldn't do it for Marvin Harrison. There's just no way. Or maybe, I don't know. Or they're passing on Rome Odunze, but they're also passing on like 7 other guys that are likely more valuable to the team and a better player, just simply a better player than Latham. Latham may be a better quote unquote fit, but this isn't best fit available. Like, that's not how it works for him typically. He said as much in that latest interview he had with Haley Elwood, where, like, generally speaking, the more that you go best player available, you're going to get more right than wrong. And it's not always the case, but that's kind of the philosophy.
Let's take a look at run blocking and tackles. I'm pulling it up right now. I'm really curious here. Let's go to...
And while you're looking at that, I'm going to go through some of these comments real quick to catch up. Let's see. Kyle Jones says, Harrison won't be there. He's minus 1,200 to go. Jake and I had talked about this the last probably few weeks. I think the most likely scenario is Arizona sticks and picks, takes Harrison. But that's probably the other crazy part about this discussion now is
the neighbors talk is rising.
The neighbors talk is rising. And you heard Dade Brugler talk about it. You've seen lots of other national pundits. Trevor Sikkema talked about it. Connor Rogers talked about it. I think Mike Brenner talked about it. It's all over now. I think it was also Chris Sims, which this is, take it with a grain of salt because I think he's like way into Malik Neighbors. But there's inside NFL circles, there is I don't know if it's the majority, but there is way more than folks initially thought of NFL scouts, coaches, positional coaches who have Malik Neighbors as wide receiver 1 over Marvin Harrison Jr. And imagine the world where, and I don't think this will happen, but just imagine for a second if the Cardinals are on the board and on the clock and they pick Neighbors. Jake asked this question to me earlier today, and I was like, I mean, call me Vindication Vinny, but also like that would be insane. Do you think there's any chance that they do that?
I'm trying not to laugh because as you're talking, my son is over here doing raspberries in my left ear. Repeat the last part of your question because I was trying so hard not to laugh.
No, please laugh. Look, we're at the point of the night where crazy stuff happens. Do you think there's any chance that Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't the pick if they stick and pick at 4?
Yeah, of course. I mean, a lot of receiver coaches, a lot of guys around the league, and we're seeing this more and more. And, they were whispers in December, and they're getting real loud over the last couple of weeks that, Neighbors is the wide receiver 1 of a lot of wide receiver coaches. Who's to say that Arizona's wide receiver coach isn't one of them? There's never a 0 chance. I mean,
it's close to 0. Do you think, how likely, honestly, if you put a number on it, percentage chance
that Neighbors goes over Harrison for Arizona? 5.
It's under 10, right?
It's under
5
to 10%, I would say.
Okay. Yeah. It just makes too much sense for them specifically.
I think the floor of Harrison is probably a lot higher. And so you would probably feel a lot better. I would feel a lot better if I was picking at 4.
It's less risky, for sure.
Yeah. We're not a Cardinals podcast, but
that's a fun pick. But if we were, though, they'd be like, yeah, what he said. All right, let's fly through some of these questions because I got to catch up because we have a ton of these. James Wagner says, no alts. Mark Severson, shout out to you. Is there a chance they grab Bowers if they trade down to 11-23? I'll answer this real quick. 100%. I don't think he'll be there because I think he goes at 10 to the Jets. But if he's there and they're picking at 11, yeah. That would be, I'd argue the odds for him being selected would be pretty darn high considering how Jim Harbaugh generally utilizes tight ends. And you got a generational one in theory then. I think positional value probably lines up a lot easier there. Mark Matlock says, Ortiz BPA isn't necessarily the same as popular opinions. 100% true. I say it again. This is not best fit available. Alt, I could see, I guess, the philosophy. I understand the philosophy. I can see them thinking
I'm on the fence with Alt, and you're bringing Latham to the table. I was just starting to be okay with it. I was just starting to cope. My process was just finally starting to say, okay, well, I mean, alt isn't that bad. And the second I thought that, it was like, boom, Latham. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, they hit you.
They're letting me down easy or something like that. They're going by tiers.
Yeah. What do you? I mean, I guess so. Question, real quick. Infinite Mind says all this OL talk is smoke. Let's all take a breath. I promise we don't go OL in round 1. That's a hefty promise. If they trade down, I would bet a lot that they go offensive line in round 1.
Yeah,
generally, but
I would say so.
The question that I have is lost on me. I thought I lost it in mid sentence as I was asking this question.
You lost the question.
I lost the question.
I thought you lost on me. I was like, whoa,
no. I completely lost my train of thought.
Okay, well, while you gather your train of thought, JC Latham, even as I looked up the run blocking grades on PFF,
which they call him a road grader.
Mm-hmm. He's not he's graded 5 points lower than Joe Alt in both zone and man gap, like both zone and man run blocking. And then if you go over to gap, it's almost 10 points of a difference. Joe Alt is higher. So even if we're talking run blocking, which is supposed to be like his calling card, I don't. What? I was just coming to terms with Joe Alt, dude, and even that, like I said earlier, I was on the fence. I was because you're passing up a lot of fighting right now. I'm fighting for my life over here. I'm passing up. You're passing up a lot of talent at a lot of positions that you desperately need. I was okay with the idea of Joe Alt, and the reason I wasn't in love with it is because I would say that the O-line is not the desperation need right now. Like there's too many other spots. A lot of the issues on the O-line last year, I would blame on that it was scheme related. A lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them.
Totally.
And
so, like edge, like looking at like running back, tight end, also hell interior for that matter.
Right. And so all of it. And so it's not that desperation need for me like right now. But corner is that's desperate right now. Wide receiver is absolutely desperate right now. Like interior D line is desperate right now. Linebacker's desperate right now. You don't have a safety 3 unless you think you could turn around JT Woods. You have
a 1-year center.
You have a 1-year center and 2 guards who are coming off a down year. Again, I said that was scheme dependent, and I'll stick with that. Running back, I like the moves they have made. They're low risk, but that is still there. Linebacker, there's still you would have to push everything. When honestly, tackle is probably not there on that list of like, oh my God, they need that or they're in trouble.
Which this is the weird part, and we're gonna flip this a bit and talk about the receivers here for a second because, like, I think the scenario, the dichotomy of this, I think, is vast in terms of like if they go tackle or if they go receiver at 5. But I find it odd how many of the national pundits who are supposed to like know this stuff, right? Know this team, have like if they're just focusing on the needs of the team, right? If they're just focusing on what this team needs most, how many of them have tackle at the top? And I promise you, they won't say this. I promise you, the reason for that 85% of the time is only because they see Justin Herbert get wrecked and they know Jim Harbaugh is the head coach. Like, that's it. Hard stuff.
Like, if Jim Harbaugh was not the head coach, there's no way this would be happening right now.
There's no way.
No shot. And
like none.
How much weight does that hold though? How much weight does it hold? I would really like to know, because in my head, I'm putting myself in GM for a moment, and the amount that I respect Jim Harbaugh, and I'm thinking I'm at my desk and he walks into my office and says, "Hey, I want Latham at 5." I'd be like, "Get out, go." It's not happening.
That's so it's like next.
I'm trying to like visualize this conversation here in my head where Ortiz is like talking to Jim Harbaugh, and Harbaugh's pitching Latham, and Ortiz is like, "I hear you. I hear you."
I think he's going like, "I hear you at 11. I hear you at 11." Like every time.
Even 11 is like a stretch for me, and I mentioned this earlier today in a conversation.
But that's also like, the run's coming, and if you don't do it at 11, you're not getting the 23. So like you're going a little bit above. Like that's combining BPA with fit and availability.
Mm-hmm. And it's just, but even at 11, you're talking like you're still passing up on so many good players to take a position because you want to run the football. In 2024, the year of 2024.
The one of the things that, and like, I'm gonna get to the receiver stuff here in a second. I will say though, like, let's say that they like. I think Latham would be wild, and there'll be a lot of questions. But like, let's just say it's Latham or Alt, right? And like, ignore the BPA stuff, like, because I think that'd be the biggest question. Is like, wait, what? Like, what have you been telling us the last 20 years in Baltimore and here the last few months or this past week about BPA? The strategy itself, though, I could understand. Like, at its baseline point, it could be Ortiz and Harbaugh saying, look at what you guys have seen. I want to protect the quarterback who's making $50 million plus. I trust him to make the right decisions with whoever he has out there. We need to run the ball. We have not done so. You've seen the results of that. I'm going to prioritize protecting our jewel and establishing a run game. Fans be damned. Y'all come back to me in a couple years when we're cooking. Like, I get it. I can understand that. Like, I can get behind that. And it's just like the Jim Harbaugh way. Okay. It's the only reason why this is an issue is specifically at 5 because of BPA talk. Like, that's it. But the strategy overall, while it might not be fun, and if they go JC Latham and Zach Frazier and Blake Corum 1, 2, 3, while it's not sexy, it's not fun, it's not what everybody wants in terms of like sizzle, but it's probably going to help them win football games. It's going to help them run the ball better. It's going to protect Justin Herbert. And that's probably what they think will help this team win. So, like, people just poo-pooing tackle at 5 like it's a stupid idea. Like, that's too far for me. It's the BPA thing that I think rubs me the wrong way. If I'm just being honest. Do you see the strategy behind it, or is it also stupid to you?
Stupid. No, it's I
Jeff
get
says
the
I missed
joke.
Telesco. This freaking guy.
No. How dare you? Like I said, I was coming to terms with the Joe Alt thing. I get the philosophy that people were pitching to me, where protect Justin Herbert. And thanks, a tier. Thank you. I get it. Protecting Justin Herbert, establishing the run, get the play action going. Like, you can pitch this idea to me and I will understand. And I was coming to terms with that. Coming to terms with passing up one of the best wide receivers I've ever watched on coming out of college for a tackle. I was coming to terms with that for a tackle that we already have, and we would just move one to the other side. But in terms of pass blocking, I would say they're not even close. Like, Joe Alt is way, way higher in my view than Latham is. And we just went over the run blocking. BPA, you can't convince me. You can't convince me.
Nobody can.
You would have to convince me first that he's the best tackle in the draft. And I don't know if you can do that. I don't know if you can do that to me. But maybe he is. And maybe we're all wrong. And maybe we're insane.
Yep. Okay. So, tackle discussion aside for a second here.
No.
We're going to get to a bunch of the comments. Let's talk about neighbors. Okay. Let's just go in a world in which it goes QB 1, 2, 3, Harrison 4, Chargers stick and pick, and somehow they draft Malik Neighbors. I'm telling you, Jason, it will be euphoric for me. I have wanted this type of player for so long on this Chargers team. Couple that with, I think he is my favorite wide receiver prospect probably since Jamar Chase. And that's over Tank Dell, which everyone knows how I was about Tank Dell last year.
Have they ever had a receiver like Neighbors?
Never. Like, you can go back to Bambi. Like, and again, I'm not saying that he's better than Bambi.
I thought you meant the cartoon. I was like, that's a long time ago. It's still a long time ago.
Everyone like, it would be magical to me. There would be tears boiling, like puddling under, like right at my eyelids. If the Chargers pick is in, they come out and say it's Malik Neighbors. It would completely, everyone's talked about, like, for years, for months, for weeks, for days, about the Harbaugh way, the the prototypical type of receiver the Chargers are always getting. The Ortiz way and establishing the trenches and developing a run game, and they need an X receiver or they need someone on the boundary. Like, how euphoric I would feel for them to just say, I'm choosing chaos, I'm choosing explosion, I'm choosing conflict for defenses, and I'm going with the most explosive, the most athletic wide receiver. Arguably one of the fastest, if not the fastest this year, and Malik Neighbors. Like, and it would completely change the script of all of it. It would change the script, the expectations, the preconceived notions, all of the rumors, everybody would be like, whoa, this is a new dawn for Chargers football. And
the surprise. Oh my God, they took the best player.
Like they actually did it. Like, they did it. They didn't go best fit. They didn't reach for a need. They went with the guy who was BPA. Also, the fact that it's my favorite player. Like, I would go absolutely ballistic. And I know Jake's going to have, like, some video camera on me, I can imagine already tomorrow. Like, just waiting. I'm telling you, dude, like, I think it's just, like, refreshing to be like, they're going a different direction. And it's one that would be exciting. It's one that would be like box office, like getting butts and seats. Like, I don't know, man. I might be too far into the Neighbors hype train at this point, but I just want that pick to be Neighbors so bad. It's so bad.
For me, it was almost like when they made the moves that they did this offseason. I'm not going to name them because it'd be sad.
You're still hurting, I know.
If those moves were not made, well, they were made. Because they were made, I was pretty much immediately like, okay, it's Neighbors. And then the argument was, well, is Neighbors going to be on the board? And then all of a sudden it was, oh, Neighbors is going to be on the board. Nah. And like, that's how it's kind of translated from February to now. I remember we were having the conversation back in February of like, oh, maybe Neighbors won't even, like, it's going to be Marvin to New England and then Arizona's going to take Neighbors. So there's no way the Chargers get him. And now there's no way the Chargers take him. But man,
so crazy.
If they did, I always think to the Baltimore Ravens with Greg Roman and Lamar Jackson. And that one piece we would always say every offseason, man, they're missing this. That's all they're missing is this. And if they get this, man.
It was always this guy.
Receiver. It was always this guy that we're talking about right now. It was always Malik Neighbors. And you have to hope that Greg Roman is just there like, that guy's fast. You don't want him.
Yeah. Like, yeah. But also I feel like this team has established a coaching staff that, I don't know, can like help develop and improve the offensive line that currently exists.
Mm-hmm. Like 100%.
Like, that's kind of the point.
And I feel like if you're taking your chances between developing the wide receiver core you have right now as it stands and developing your offensive line right now as it stands, and this has nothing to do with BPA, this is just line versus receiver, I am a lot more concerned with the receiver room. And that's no shot at Josh Palmer. You know, we all like Josh Palmer, but
he's not a wide receiver one.
No, and like we were arguing last offseason if he was a wide receiver 2. And, you know, he shows glimpses of it. So are you going to hand him the keys and make him wide receiver 1?
I mean, there's still free agency. Like, let's say, quote unquote, worst case, so they don't go receiver. Like, there's still options. Yeah. I mean,
they just go all around with no receivers.
I mean, like,
could you imagine? Could you imagine the outrage?
No, I don't even want to imagine. But like, if they don't go like an X receiver, like if they don't get like their bona fide wide receiver 1, like let's say they draft a receiver in, you know, day 3, like there's still guys out there.
Round 7, Idaho.
There you go. Yeah. Okay. Back to these questions real fast. Crazy question. Cortez and Jason, I'm gonna rely on you. I don't know this to be true or not. Was the only one of the Chargers Neighbors was the only player that Ortiz actually went to. I think is also with Brian Thomas Jr. and the LSU Pro Day. I think that question is, if Ortiz's only visit was to LSU, why would they not get him? Why would he go to LSU?
Because Harbaugh. Because Harbaugh. I just said Harbaugh went to his office, gave him the pitch.
Yep.
Why wouldn't he? Because the draft community wants some spice, and Jim Harbaugh offers that. Jim Harbaugh is already making waves, man. He's already out here making waves.
Yep. Kevin says, let's go real quick, rapid fire here so we can catch up. I know I said it before, but we really got to now. Dan, you need to explain where Pipkins plays if tackle is a selection at 5. Where does he go? He's making start level money. You can't just bench him. You can. He's probably going to be your swing tackle. That's where he goes. 3% of your roster, salary cap wise, is spent on Trey Pipkins. That's what ends up happening.
That's why I traded Keenan Allen, baby, right there for a $10 million.
I saw someone say like, "Wait, you're meaning to tell me we got rid of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams so we can draft JC Latham?" Like, wait,
there
what?
You go. That's the real kicker right there.
Okay, fun stuff. Real quick, one word or one answer, one sentence, if you will. Malik or Marvin, if they're both available.
I know your answer, so I guess I'll go first.
One sentence.
Look. One sentence?
Yep.
I would go Malik Neighbors.
Oh, bro. This is like uncharted territory because this is not what I've heard from Jason for months now. Whew. Okay. I echo Jason's sentiment. Let's see. K-Myth says Ortiz wants fresh young wide receiver. I'm like shook right now, Jason. I don't know what to say about that. People are talking about like JJ and Charlie Joyner and all these guys. I'm not saying these guys weren't like Hall of Famer, crazy, great receivers, but like they're not the athletic, explosive, fast, dynamic player like this. I'm not saying these guys are bad, so like don't get it twisted. Like I appreciate the folks that played here. I get it. I mean, we're talking Malcolm Floyd here, like different. I agree. I love Malcolm Floyd. Like he was fun. Him and Vincent Jackson together, like that was sick. Tyrell Williams out on top of that. Cool.
I was there for Malcolm Floyd's halftime. Was it halftime? I think they're one of their last days at Walcom, and it was when Malcolm Floyd was basically announcing his retirement at halftime, and they showed this like tribute video.
Oh, that's cool.
Of all of his highlights of his career, and like him and Rivers were on the sideline, just like embracing, and that was a very emotional moment. And I'll always like cherish those moments for Malcolm Floyd, man, because that had a lasting impact on me.
He toughed it out through a lot of stuff, dude. James Wagner says, "Great preaching, Dan." Hey, like I missed my calling, but I'm like legit. I think I said it on Twitter earlier, Jason, but like if at 5 the pick is in, it's the Chargers, like the time spent between the pick is in and him coming up to make the announcement is going to feel like torture because it feels like it's going to like, it's a very extreme difference of emotions for, I think, almost every Chargers fan, one way or the other. Like the guys who want the tackle, if they go receiver, they're going to be pissed. The guys who want receiver and they go tackle, they're going to be pissed. The guys who want any of the other ones and they go tight end, they're going to be like, oh, what? This. Whew.
I have a solution for that. Take neither. Quentin at 5.
There's a lot of people. That'd be a funny discussion of like the people you'd rather go with than tackle at 5. But let's pause for a second. A lot of people are talking about Rome Odunze. Look, I would be over the moon if the Chargers took Rome Odunze. Like, I'm legit happy with. I mean, I'm at the moon. I wouldn't say I'm over the moon, but I've like reached the moon.
You're there.
I've been like launched to the moon. If they go Odunze,
you landed or you just missed.
Yeah,
you just
I'm
missed
like over multiple moons if they go Neighbors or Marvin Harrison Jr.
You remember the conversations we used to have about Rome on why, like, that one reason why we wouldn't endorse him at 5 is because of Keenan Allen, and now there's no Keenan Allen, and so it's kind of like
change the math.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's why I go like a lot of people say, and myself included, like as soon as Keenan Allen left, it was like, okay, Rome Odunze's stock just like soared in terms of like how much he could quote unquote fit this Chargers team when being kind of a volume X receiver boundary guy.
100%.
But like I go back to like, what if that's not what they deem as what they want? Like, what if that's not the fit? Like, what if they just want to just break it and go Malik
and that's
Neighbors?
like that's a whole separate conversation of like, do you think you could get a yak receiver later? Because you can. It's will they be on the level of Neighbors? Probably not. But it's like, can you get another Odunze later? And I would say there's no player that comes close to that kind of what Odunze brings to the table.
No.
There's some Neighbors lights. There's no Odunze light.
No. Gonna have to unretire Charlie Joyner respectfully, the number 18, if we get Marvin Harrison Jr. That'd be an interesting one. I wonder what happens with 18. There's no way they unretire the number, by the way. But I wonder what number he has it taking.
13.
Watch him take 13. Watch him take 13. Let's see.
I'd be all the way out. Be like, we should have taken Neighbors. Should have taken
then you're all the way back to pits off again. Shad says, for so many years we have struggled with Yak, and I love MHJ, but I think Malik Neighbors gives us more when it comes to Yak explosiveness. He 100% does. That doesn't necessarily mean that he is like the better receiver. Like anyone who says one is better than the other, I don't think there's an argument there. Like both are incredible, very different archetypes. It just really depends on what you deem as most important and what your team needs most. Like, do you need the volume guy, the one who's going to take double teams all the time, the one who's going to like vacuum in everything, the guy who has the biggest floor, the one who's going to be the 100-yard reception or 100 receptions per season? Or like, do you want like the Tyreek Hill type? Because like, in my opinion, he like Malik Neighbors is like Jamar Chase, but like with like leaning towards Tyreek. Like, I don't think Jamar Chase has the same elusiveness as Malik Neighbors, nor does he have the speed. I don't think. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think Jamar Chase is as fast as him. I mean, he was plenty fast, obviously.
As Neighbors, what was Jamar Chase's 40 time? Do you remember?
No. That's what I'm saying. I feel like it was like a low 4.4.
I'm looking right now. Jamar time.
While you're looking, Brad says, "Smash the like button, son."
Jamar Chase had a 4.38.
Okay, so they're pretty close. Pretty close. I think Neighbors is still faster. I think he's faster than 4.38.
Well, he's a 4.35, right? Is what he ran.
Yeah.
And he was kind of disappointed with it.
Yep. Although Jaden Daniels was pumped for him. You remember, right? Let's see. If the Chargers draft Bowers at 5, how would you feel? Let's go quick. How would you feel? Give us a facial expression, but that's it. Meh. Let's see. Love Rome. Harbaugh went cornerback first in San Francisco 2011. Chris says many insiders, including Jeremiah, think Latham. Again, they could go Latham at 11. I just don't think that it's the case at 5. I just don't think it's there. Hayden says all the Latham talk is batshit crazy. If you have questions, please put them in the chat now. We'll go through. I'm kind of going through all the comments, see if I can find stuff in here. Gabriella says Jake's not here because he's getting ready for his party. I mean, he probably is, for being honest. If it was reported that JJ has done dinner with the Giants, so wouldn't the win-win be just swap with them and get Neighbors or Rome? Yes.
Swap with them and get Latham. Now we're talking.
Don't get the F out of here on that. No, but like that would be like ideal for me. Trade back, get like, I don't know, 3rd, 4th round pick with it. Desperate team wanting to go up. Chargers can just go back one selection. Take Neighbors. You have an additional 3rd round pick to go get whatever the F you want. You check off the trade back stuff. Like, yes.
My only like fighting back against that would be is if all it took was like a 3rd or a 4th, I don't think they would trade up at all, because that would mean that there's no really like contest.
Well, but I'm saying the contest would be the Chargers wouldn't have to go back. They can stay right there. Like they could go to let's say like Minnesota 11-23 or 11 and next year's 1 or whatever, but then you're missing out on those guys. Like that's would you rather take that haul or just go back a little bit get one pick, not be too greedy, still get your guy.
Hall, baby. Give
Would
me
you?
the Hall.
So if you had a choice between going back to 6th and a 3rd, or 11, 23, etc., which are you taking?
I would take the 11 and 23.
Oh, not me. Interesting.
That's because you want neighbors.
Yes.
That's because you want neighbors.
I want the best
okay with
player
taking
available.
Quentin or Terrion Arnold. You want neighbors.
I mean, I'm totally okay with it too. Like I'm okay with it. But in those two situations, I'm probably going the 6. And I think the reason for that is this team is like I hope they are never picking a player this good, this high in a draft for the foreseeable future. You can get a great tackle.
Watch them with Latham. Watch them.
You can get a great tackle in the teens. Fact. Almost every year. Fact.
Look at how many are this year. JC Latham, Amarius Smith. Well, JC Latham might not make it, but I'm gonna stop making Latham jokes. Amarius Mims.
There's like 6 or 7 tackles that are gonna go in first round this year.
Morgan. There's a lot.
You got Graham Barton, you've got Fashanu, you've got
Fuaga.
Yes. I think it's technically Fuanga. I've learned this because everyone's like snipe me every time I say his name right or wrong because there's like a silent N there somewhere. Charlie Sinclair. What if the Chargers are trying to get the Cardinals to trade with the Giants with the offensive line noise, then catch them being greedy and draft Marvin Harrison Jr.? What say you? Shout out, Charlie. You've been like all over. I feel like anything that is the Chargers are taking, insert anyone other than tackle, Charlie's just like bam, 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 bam. And then if it's anything at tackle, y'all don't know what you're talking about.
My only argument to that would be like New York Giants on the phone saying, "You're taking Latham? You're taking Latham? Cool. They're taking Latham. We're fine." That would be my argument there.
So what are the Chargers trying to get the Cardinals to trade with the Giants? So go from 4 to 6.
Yeah, like convince.
Then the Chargers,
Giants that we want O-line.
But well, maybe
I don't think the Giants want JC Latham.
No. But he's saying, but like if Arizona wants Marvin Harrison Jr. and the Giants are like, hey, they're not going to go receiver, they're going to go Latham. You're good. They're going to go alt. You're good. You can get Marvin Harrison Jr. still at 6.
You outbrained me. Okay, I see.
I think that's what he's saying. It took me a bit too. But like
that's the ultimate poker move right there. I was like,
But like, I think the thought there would be from Arizona, I don't care what receiver, as long as it's one of those two. In that scenario, Arizona better be damn sure that they are good with either.
So the Chargers trying to finagle their way to Neighbors or Harrison.
But also, I also just find it kind of funny. Like, and again, this is the new regime, but generally speaking, the Chargers are like so tight-lipped with like everything. And like there's so much smoke about this stuff.
The old regime was.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Maybe the new one isn't. But like I'm pretty damn sure that they are just as tight-lipped, if not more, just knowing how they are. Like, how are all of these people getting this information? Like, who within the inner circles of this Chargers team, whether it's by design or whatever, is like, hey, tell everybody we're going to go offensive line.
Yeah, you think it's like Jim Harbaugh's just going around like, hey, yeah, JJ McCarthy's QB1, JC Latham's offensive tackle 1, and somebody in Vegas was like, whoa, what did he say?
Like, I just like, there's so many people talking about this that it almost makes it less likely for me because I'm like, go back and look at what the Jim Harbaugh stuff for coming to the Chargers. Like, there were like a couple people that like were predicting it or whatever based on all that stuff, but like, remember how everyone was like on the edge of their seat for weeks because they have no clue what Jim Harbaugh's doing. Like, I don't know.
Remember when he was at the Chargers facility, but also in Ann Arbor, but
and also in Vegas,
visiting Atlanta.
Yes. Okay, here we go. The last two top tier of tackles with round 1 grades. So what would you say? Maybe the last tier of tackles with round 1 grades. What would you say?
Jordan Morgan, Graham Barton.
Graham Barton. Honestly, I love 23 would be sick. 23 would be sick for Graham Barton. I think he's like the ultimate Swiss Army knife for them to be like, all right, your tackles suck, bring him in. Your guards suck, bring him in. Your center's hurt, bring him in.
Yeah. I would say Barton, Mims, and I would say Latham, but I guess that's off the table. And Morgan.
Brad says, Cardinals are a joke, man. They need to stay out of the way because those bums pick number 1 every year.
It's their fault we're picking at 5. It's their...
Yeah, if they would have just made the dang kick.
Brutal.
Once those quarterbacks start dropping off the boards, TG. I'm not hip. What does TG stand for? I don't know. Let's see. Why are we talking about trading future picks for a trade up in late first round for our tackle, but still take a receiver at 5? Like, that's also an option. Obviously.
For me, I'm not arguing with you. I'm not arguing with you, John. You have to argue with somebody else.
Yeah. Mark says, Cars are my family's team from Arizona. Not me, though. Yeah.
Our team's better anyway.
Yeah, I think you're right. Got a better quarterback for sure. Shadokes, JPJ or Frazier?
Ooh.
JPJ is kind of slid.
He has.
As of late.
That's interesting that's a conversation now.
Mm-hmm. Jake, by the way, loves Zach Frazier. And people are talking about him being like arguably the most physical, tough, rugged.
Yeah,
center.
like in terms of like a Greg Roman scheme, I've seen some people say that even like in terms of JPJ versus Frazier and Greg Roman's scheme, they would rather see Frazier. And I mean, I completely understand that.
Yep. I haven't got a chance to ask you this.
Okay.
Real quick though, Marvin is Calvin Johnson. Neighbors is Antonio Brown without the craziness.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill type wide receivers make quarterbacks look elite, 100%. Let's see. Excited to see.
Wide receiver is definitely like different now. Like we just saw Amon-Ra St. Brown get, what is he making? 30 million a year now?
30 million. Yep.
Like the value is being seen.
Yep. Sensational. Chargers won't be trading until they are set to pick. Probably. Same with Arizona. So yeah. Jake and I just did, and for folks in the chat, I'm gonna ask you guys, who are the ones, let's just say outside of Neighbors, Harrison for now, who are the guys that are like your dudes? Like I've got like Dan's dudes trademarked. That's my thing. I'm taking it right now. I gotta just put it on a hat. Like who are, I know we can't use Jason's jewels because that's a little too much. I mean,
that was
dark.
so wild. That was out
dark.
of pocket, bro.
It is after dark. But no. who are Jason's I don't know. I'm out of it. But who are Jason's guys? Who are the ones, let's just say like day 2, day 3?
I really like Elijah Jones out of Boston College. I really freaking like him.
Did you watch the show we had?
When?
Oh, that talked about the Joneses? Because I'm with you.
I like him a lot, dude. I was looking at this tape a while ago. I think I have him on here. I don't have him pulled up right now, but Elijah Jones, in terms of like aggression towards the football and just being in the way and being an inconvenience at all times to wide receivers, I think he might be up there with the best of them in this class in terms of just being an absolute nuisance.
He has the top man coverage grade in PFF last year. Yep.
Wow.
Third lowest.
I think 5 interceptions.
Third lowest passer rating. Third lowest passer rating allowed.
Yeah, and like 5 interceptions, right? And like 11 pass breakups or something like that. Like around that ballpark. I'm a huge fan of Elijah Jones. And,
man coverage with any corner with over 100 snaps. Third lowest coverage or third lowest passer rating allowed.
Wow.
And best cover corner. Best coverage grade.
Wow. And his tape backs it up. He's such a fun, like I said, just constant nuisance. Like you would see receivers get frustrated all the time with him. And while I'm on the topic of corner, DJ James out of Auburn.
You're high on him
as well. I am high on him. I've been high on him since December. I know he's a smaller dude, but in terms of like weight, But again, just like being a constant nuisance and is absolutely willing to make an impact in the run game. He doesn't have the size to actually go in there and do something crazy, but he has the effort, and it shows on tape that he will attempt to set the edge. He will make an impact in that. Who else? Nathaniel Watson out of Mississippi State. If you want to look for a later linebacker, him and Jordan McGee are a lot of fun to watch, especially with the rest of the class and how they stack up. I'm a really big fan.
What do you think? What do you think of Michael Barrett in that group?
Michael Barrett is a really fun chase and tackle linebacker who obviously he fits in the scheme somewhere, which is why I push back a lot in the Harbaugh's an old school guy. No, because he's shown he likes the small athletic linebackers. He's shown that. And Michael Barrett is like a perfect example of one of those chase and tackle linebackers, those sideline to sideline linebackers that I think if you're drafting a linebacker late, it's really smart in a weaker class to go and find those athletic dudes who just might pop, And then offensively, I'm a big fan of Jacob Cowing. I'm a really big fan of Jacob Cowing.
Okay. Give us a 30-second elevator pitch on Jacob Cowing, because I think that's a name that a lot of people aren't hearing that much.
Yeah. Jacob Cowing, you're getting a guy who knows how to attain leverage, is a little bit smarter earlier on in terms of understanding how to attack a DB and how to get in those blind spots and how to run routes really crisp, get some separation at the top of those routes, and gives your quarterback a really easy target with space. And separation is something that when you're in round 4, when you're in round 5, that's what you're really looking for out of these wide receivers, is somebody who understands and can maybe make that impact a little bit earlier than somebody you might have to take a little longer to develop. Like as high as I am on Malik Washington, you're going to have a little bit of a project there teaching a guy who's smaller and doesn't have that technical refinement that Jacob Cowing does to make an impact in year 1. And I think they need a receiver in those middle rounds who can come in a pinch and make that impact early.
Taylor Deverson. So I have 8 guys on my Dan's Dude that I did a couple days ago, but these are the guys I had. I had the Joneses, left to right. Joneses,
Elijah Jones, and who's the other one?
Jerry and Jones,
Florida State. Okay, yeah,
yep.
Okay.
Jerry and Jones. Basically, one outside boundary corner, one slot demon.
Okay.
Taylor Deverson as a safety.
Okay.
Love him.
What do you think of Tyler Owens? Just out of curiosity.
Sorry, say it again.
What do you think of Tyler Owens? Just out of curiosity. I don't know if you've watched him. I think
I haven't. In full disclosure, I have not. Not.
Okay,
Am I missing something? Should I go back and watch tonight? Oh, well, not tonight, clearly.
Very athletic, fun safety. No, just something to keep an eye on. Very athletic, fun safety. I was just curious if you've watched him.
Tyrone Tracy, we've all talked about him. And then these were the 4 other ones that I had. Obviously, Neighbors talked about Taj Washington. A bunch of people in the chat have talked about him a bit. I'm super high on Taj Washington.
Yeah, very fun receiver.
If they went like a Dunze or a Harrison Jr., Taj Washington would be just perfection as a complement to that type of receiver. If they went Neighbors, Taj Washington probably wouldn't be in play.
Taj Washington's numbers as well, really stick out in comparison to receivers that usually go in his range that you see that 4th, 5th round area.
Yeah,
his numbers stick out more along those guys that go in the first. So it's really interesting to me, where he's at in terms of yards per route run and such like that.
Yeah, yards per route run. You look at his separation numbers, and you look at how he does at the Shrine Bowl. He is putting folks in blenders.
Yeah, he gets away from guys.
And you hear a lot of. It's funny. And you probably hear this from every player from their teammates, but go and listen to some of the USC players talk about Taj Washington. All of them are you're not telling us anything. I know, he's that dude. So many have talked about him so highly. Rukororo.
Okay.
I think he has the number 1 athletic score according to ESPN Next Gen Stats. Freak athlete. If you put him interior, he just seems like he'd be the perfect Jim Harbaugh, Jesse Minter style defensive guy. Javondre Sweat, now you could probably get him at a steal. I know there are some questions and concerns and stuff off the field and whether he's going to be able to be a 3-down player. I know, but just imagine that presence when you need it. That's what I would probably go to. Who else? Third round Flyers.
I haven't mentioned is Javon Baker out of UCF. I'm a big fan of Javon Baker. You know those like Mike Williams circus catches where you're just like, oh my God, how did he do that? That's like Javon Baker every game. He has something like that. Oh yeah. Absolutely insane sideline awareness in terms of like getting his feet down somehow, despite it being, in the craziest traffic and, contorting his body and tracking the ball and such a great receiver in that regard. And reminds me a little bit of like why I liked Jaden Reed last year. So Javon Baker is up there for me in terms of somebody I would be really excited about.
Is he mostly an above the rim guy, or does he also have that?
Let me look at him
like in your opinion
right now. In my opinion, he is,
because
he does it as well as anybody, but he's a yak dude. He gets some yards after the catch in there. So yards after the catch per reception, where does he rank up in terms of my top 30? Let me sort it here. In terms of my top 30, he's number 5 in terms of yards after the catch per reception.
Ooh.
So he has 7.2 yards after the catch per reception.
And in your list, who are the 4 above him?
Ryan Flournoy with 7.5, Xavier Worthy with 7.6.
I'm low on him, by the way. I know I'm in the minority probably.
Worthy? We're there. Malachi Corley and Taj Washington.
There you go. Okay.
He is just above guys like Aniyah Smith, and Malik Neighbors is a couple spots below him with 6.6. So basically a full yard more of yards after the catch per reception. So take that for what it's worth.
All right, so those are some of Jason's dudes. Jason's Jewel. Jason's Gigantes. Jason, give me a J. Give me a J that someone in the comments give us a nice tagline for Jason's
Gems. Something.
Jason's Gems. There you go. That's better. What took you so long to say that? I've been waiting here for 15 minutes to get up something. Right. Breaker 619 says AD Mitchell ain't no punk. I know we're different here. I like AD Mitchell again. I think there's a lot of CD Lamb.
That's a long conversation that I don't think we have the time for.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see. Oh, there was a question in here that actually was a good point. Joe Ortiz should have asked Trey Pipkins to take a pay cut if Bosa and Mack did. Why couldn't he? It's a fair question.
I don't know.
There also probably isn't a trade value for Trey Pipkins, so there's probably no reason for him to
say imagine they didn't want to get locked in, maybe? I don't know.
Shad says, can you imagine if we had both Neighbors and Washington? Yeah, but Neighbors, Washington, and Davis, that's just I don't think they do. I just don't think it'd be fun, but I don't think they would do that with.
Yeah, I think if you went
Josh.
Neighbors, you'd have to go a little bit bigger. I think you'd have to go like a Mitchell and route if you really wanted to. I don't know. That's tough. I feel like I would want to go a little bit bigger.
You need a physical boundary guy, but maybe not.
Maybe honestly, Neighbors and Baker. Not. Neighbors and Baker.
I was actually just thinking that. Let's see. Here we go. Taj with the fire emoji with wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown getting 4 years, 120 million extension. What will Justin Jefferson and Brandon Ayuk, CeeDee Lamb, T. Higgins will get paid? More or less? I think Jefferson's
going to get more. Lamb is probably going to get more.
Ayuk's probably similar. Higgins probably similar.
Ayuk,
Jefferson, Ayuk.
We're going to have to see what happens with Ayuk. I'm not going to touch that topic, but I mean, Justin Jefferson's going to get paid.
Dude, yeah. I think I saw somebody said he's probably going to get $100 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
Probably.
And then when's Jamar Chase up?
He's the same as Justin. So
Jason's juggernauts.
Oh wait, no, he's not. He's the year after because Burrow went the same year as.
I said Jason's juggernauts. That's a great. I like that one.
Go down. It's Spiller out and rookie running back. Who are we getting? Who's your rookie running back? Give us 2 names that are the ones you want most.
I know he's fallen off, but dude, I really like Audric Estime.
Thank you.
I still really like him. I mean, come on, dude. This dude is so powerful and is the tape does not show a 4.7. I don't care what anybody says. I was like, you look at that tape, he's breaking away from dudes still.
Yeah.
I'm going to say estimate. And it was really unfair that people knocked his combine so much when everybody knew it wasn't going to be his thing. Right. And then I would actually, I could go there through and say like guys like Jalen Wright and such like that. What I'm actually going to throw out there is Frank Gore Jr., because I think that there's a little bit of listen, as like a 6th or 7th round pick, if you get somebody who can catch the ball and give good pass pro, you're going to stick around and you're going to carve out a role. And that's why I like Frank Gore Jr. as like this later pick. Is you're getting a patient runner with good breakaway percentage. You're getting a good pass protector, really good pass protector, and you're getting a guy who can catch the football out of the backfield. And if you give me those 3 things, you can carve out a role for yourself.
Shad asked, can we talk about Trey Benson? I've watched tape and every running back, he's in my opinion the best. So I am on record. We did our running back rankings. I was much lower on Trey Benson than Jake was, and I think more so than the consensus.
RB1. I could show you my screen right now. He's RB1. he's right there.
I think that he has athleticism. I think he's fast. I think he's quick, but I don't think that he has like the lateral agility. I think he's kind of like, if he has a good hole, he'll hit it. If he doesn't, he'll hit whatever's not there. I don't see like the jump cuts. I don't see like the outside. I don't see that translating. Nor do I see it that much on tape.
Who was your RB1 again?
Well, so we did specifically RB's fits for the Chargers specifically. And for the Chargers specifically, I had Blake Corum.
I have Trey Benson.
Okay.
Let's move on.
James says, I don't want Blake Corum at all, by the way. Look, Blake Corum, I don't know what to tell you, but
he's probably going to be a Charger, dude. Just get over it now.
Like, I don't know what to tell you, but like of all of the Michigan guys, him and it's probably between him and Stainer still are the 2 that I think are the most like Harbaugh guys, like character, the guys who do the right thing all the time, who are cerebral players, who don't live outside of their means. I think he or Stainer still are the ones that, if there was a reach for a Michigan guy, I think it's one of those 2. But like, I also think he
Jenkins
loves
as well as
Jenkins and Colston and who's the other receiver? The one that's like round 6.
Cornelius Johnson.
There you go. Johnson. There we go. Atir asked, did you lose my question to Jason? No, I asked your question like 45 minutes ago. Unless you asked a different one.
Did he ask a different one?
I'll let you look for that. Frank Gore Jr. round 7. I love it. Jason's Dirty Dozen. What do you think about that?
I like the Juggernauts. We're stuck with Juggernauts. I like the I watch Dirty Dozen all the time. Those are fine movies.
Dirty Dozen or Dirty Dancing? Which one's better? The movies. The movies. Get your good Lord.
I've never seen Dirty Dancing.
Really?
Yeah.
I recommend you see it. It's a very good film.
All right. I got something to do this week.
Let's see. Been a big Jalen Wright guy. We are rounding out here. Jason, I know your child probably needs to eat or sleep, or you need to do one of those 2 things. So we'll probably give us another, like, I don't know, got 10 minutes? Does that work?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Last call. Let's do kind of rapid fire Q&A. We can go through and do as much as we can to ensure that we get as many of these in before we end. A tier. Jason, I got a question. Do you believe Jesse Minter's defense can finish top 12 this season?
Are they taking JC Latham at 5 in this scenario? Yes, I do think so, because I do think that there are players in the middle of this draft that are, that they can work with. And man, it really just, I'll answer your question on Saturday. How about that? We'll see. We'll see is my answer to that. I wish I could have a better answer for you, but I just don't know who they're going to take right now. But I think if you talk about his potential as a coach alone, yes.
Over under. How many Michigan guys? Jake has the line at 1.5.
I'll agree with that.
Are you going over or under?
Oh, over. I'm gonna say they get 2 guys.
I think so too. Let's see. I don't know if we want to do this question now because we went through so much of this earlier, but we'll just paraphrase. Hayden asks, how much does a tackle help versus a receiver? So this is kind of a different style question. Everything about the offense screams draft a wide receiver. I can't see a tackle helping this team more than a wide receiver does.
That is a lot different question.
So maybe rephrase, which position will impact the team's ability to win more? Improving the wide receiver or adding a receiver or improving your tackle room?
Receiver. I'll say receiver. That might be a different answer in 3 years, 4 years, but I would say receiver. Like they could take Latham now and maybe that pans out 3 or 4 years from now, but I would say for this season, 100% receiver.
See, in this one, I'm kind of like, I can see it going either way because there's an argument behind like, who the hell is Johnston going to throw to? Like, I get that argument, right? But there's also like the argument of like, all right, like if they're looking to go a different direction, right? Like if they're going to be, shaving 20% of the passes that they're throwing, right?
Yeah, but are you going to handicap your team by handicapping your best player on the team?
No, but they would argue they're not handicapping the team. Like they're arguing that they'd be a better team if they can run.
Yeah, I get their argument. We would agree with that. I think I just disagree with the process that
of how they get there
from that discussion.
Sure,
right,
sure,
right.
But like in theory, like if you can, like the argument is like, okay, but if we can protect Justin Herbert, give him more time to throw and find guys, if we can establish a run game, allow Justin to stay healthy, if we can enable tight ends to do more, like enable just for the betterment of the group, tackles impact every single play, receivers don't. Like that's the argument. Like I think there is an argument there. It's not just like it has to be receiver. There's no way it's not. Like I think that's where sometimes I think Chargers fans get a little too over their skis on like getting a tackle is stupid. Like I think why people are upset about it is because of the BPA thing. Like that's the issue. It always comes back to that.
If the BPA conversation was never spawned by Joe Ortiz, I don't think it would be as big of a conversation. I think it would be, okay, well, this is their vision. But because the BPA thing happened, I don't think anybody is buying that Joe Alt or JC Latham are better than Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. I think nobody's buying that. And I think that's why we're getting the pushback that we are right now.
Yep. James C says Pipkins is more serviceable than the wide receiver room. I would agree with that. Like Trey Pipkins is better off just chilling. They're better off staying with Trey Pipkins and improving the receiver room than improving the receiver room and keeping.
Yeah. I mean, I think him and Palmer are pretty close.
Oh, I think Palmer is a better receiver than Pipkins is a tackle.
Yeah, it's just the issue is there's a lot more receivers, which is why I think I would agree with that comment.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let's see. Joe Burrow got sacked 7 times in Super Bowl. If he didn't, he may have won. Tackle.
He got to the Super Bowl.
Dude, somebody said this to me on Twitter earlier today, and they're like, "Yeah, but he lost Super Bowl." I'm like,
"But
can you imagine a world that a Chargers got to the Super Bowl and AC championship and perennial like playoff appearances? Like, what are we doing here?"
Didn't they almost win? Wasn't it close? Was it not?
And they also barely lost when they played the Rams. Like they lost by a field goal. They should have won the game, by the way.
Yeah, I don't like that argument.
Shad says, so we should draft wide receiver round 1, but we definitely need to beef up our offensive line in the mid to late rounds because this draft. Agreed. 100%. Like the draft does not end at 5 or 11 or 23. And I think that's why, honestly, Chargers fans are so pumped for this new regime because of Ortiz and his efficacy in drafting and finding players. Like that's why the Ravens did so well. He was like their czar for drafting throughout his tenure there. And ask anyone, it's not just me saying that. Like that's what Baltimore said. That's what everyone said about him. And then Jim Harbaugh knows the landscape of the players coming out of college, probably arguably better than any other coach right now. So like that's why the draft and accumulating picks and trading down and all that stuff, like that's why this is so exciting for Chargers fans. Because like, oh my goodness, like, they actually like make a lot of right decisions. General manager Joe Ortiz says Eddie will pick best player available, not like that bum Tom Telesco who reaches for players as needs.
How am I still seeing Tom Telesco as much as I am right now? He's gone. Can't hurt you.
Man of the year.
He's in Oakland or in Vegas.
And by the way, he's doing the same thing in Vegas too, by the way.
Big name players, not a lot of depth. Yeah.
Yep. I will die on the Brock Bowers hill. Tight end impacts the game. I would argue more the receiver, in my opinion, due to the different matchups they get, i.e. linebackers and safeties. I could see the argument for tight ends in Jim Harbaugh's offense impact the game. I see the argument there, but generally
you can match up wide receivers with those mismatches as well. If you have a good offensive coordinator, you can do it. But I get what you're saying.
With Keenan, I'd be all for Latham or tackle with a trade down. These tackles, in my opinion, are not better prospects. Let's see.
I mean, I think we would all prefer that Keenan was still. Yes. I think because we were all a lot more open to it, I believe, back then when it was, go and get Joe Alt and you still have Keenan Allen on the team. Yeah, 100%. But I mean, that's a different that doesn't exist anymore. He's gone.
It does. Hayden says, "You won't ever catch me rocking a Latham jersey."
You don't know that.
This is a weird one. Big John says, "I hope it doesn't look like a Michigan football game. Have you ever watched the game? It's boring."
I thought their playoff run was pretty fun personally, but
I mean, they also won everything. Like, I hate to have a boring championship.
It's boring because they won everything. So, like, are you saying that the Chargers go 17-0 and then go win the Super Bowl? It's like boring.
Yep. HH4 says Bowers will be the best pro. Watch the tape. No one's arguing against Brock Bowers and his skill set. I don't think anyone has said Brock Bowers isn't good. So, hard stop. All right, last few here. And again, we have had soaring over 600-700 subsequent people at a time almost the entire time we've been doing this, which is wild.
Maybe JC Latham will work. He's bringing everybody here. He's putting butts in seats like you were talking about.
That's it. If you have not done so already, please hit that like and subscribe. It helps that a ton. Jason does blueprints. He kind of goes in depth on some of the more nuanced discussions. He did one on leverage for wide receivers. He's done some on like the types of receivers that this team could look for, all kinds of stuff, as well as the banner Chargers Unleashed. Jason also comes on our show. We go vice versa, as we're doing today. So yes, please like and subscribe. Helps us out a ton. We're going to go. I'm going to let you finish this one out. 3 more. Okay. 3 more questions, topics.
Okay.
We'll head to bed. We'll try to sleep.
Let's send them. Let's see. I'm looking for a good question here. If you guys have last minute questions, send them in.
Eddie says, this is a new regime. Head coach Jim Harbaugh, general manager Joe Ortiz, 19 new coordinators on the staff. By the way, they have like 30 plus members of the staff right now. I cannot remember.
When they were announcing them all, they released the list. It was just extensive. Yeah.
Talk about big changes. Only Ryan Ficken around for the pathetic 2023 coaching staff.
Not too many questions left, it looks like. We've been talking about this the entire time. Man of the year. I don't know where you've been. I think we just covered this for about an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, it's here. Here you go.
Can Herbert win MVP this year?
That's a good question.
Do they
We got
take
a lot of
Casey
questions coming
Latham
in
at 5? Are we still on this topic? Can we? All right, let's drop.
It's painful. It's gonna be a slow, hot,
It's gonna be a
painful
long
burn.
day. I mean, yeah, I think there's that chance. Are they going to win? That's the big one. Are they going to win? Because if they're not winning, then the answer is going to be no. But I mean, I think he has the talent to do it any year. I think he has the talent to go any year and go toe to toe with the best of them. So, yes.
Okay.
Free
Ask
agent.
Jason. What free agent wide receiver do you want?
Ooh. Dude, there's not a lot. I'm just gonna be honest. There's not a lot. In fact, I would say Odell Beckham is probably at the top of that list. And like even then, I'm a little like
more than Boyd.
Yeah, more than Boyd. And I'm sure there's some like sleeper free agents that I could dig for in there somewhere where maybe I go and find some after this draft is over and I'll dig real deep. But no, I would say look to the draft. I mean, I wouldn't mind Beckham. I wouldn't mind that at all. I probably would have loved that 3 years ago. But at this point, I would say I wouldn't mind it. And if you want to go a route where you draft Neighbors and then don't address it for the rest of the draft, yeah, I would go and see if you can get Beckham 100%. But yeah. Hunter Renfrow, probably not. Just because I think that's where Palmer is going to play, is mainly in the slot if things go according to plan. And I just don't want Renfrow taking snaps away from Palmer. I don't think that's an upgrade.
Last question from friend of the show, James Wagner. Will Daiyan Henley have a breakout year with Jesse Minter? A name that we've all been very high on, that we saw close to nothing from until the very end of the season. And you saw, honestly, promising things.
Who was the last? Remember when Kaiser White? This reminds me a lot of Kaiser White's first and second year with the Chargers, maybe even third year with the Chargers, where that was extremely frustrating. And we were all so excited for Kaiser White, and they just wouldn't play him. And every time he played, he was making plays, and they just wouldn't do it. I hope so, because I love Henley's. I love what he brings to the table, and I'd really like to see them capitalize on that.
I keep saying last one, but people are like asking for more and more.
Yeah,
and more.
I like these two new questions a lot. Actually, I'm like, I don't want to not answer.
Go ahead.
Do you think Hardwick brings out that hard-nosed football we used to see, and will Bowman help Henley flourish? So about the new coaches is what will they bring to the table? Will they bring that hard-nosed football, and will they help Henley? I mean, anytime you can pick a veteran player's mind and also like bundle that up with their coaching experience. I think Bowman's second year coaching, right? He coached college last year, I want to say, a smaller college. Right?
Go ahead, continue. I'll check it. I don't remember actually.
Anytime you can pick a veteran, especially an all-pro, and get some things from him, I mean, you're just learning more. So absolutely, I think that'll help Daiyan Henley flourish. And in terms of Hardwick bringing like a hard-nosed football, I mean, I have to think a little bit of Phillip Rivers trash talk like wore down on Hardwick, and he probably shares some of that. So I really liked that era of like Phillip Rivers and Nick Hardwick. So man, you won't catch me arguing that at all. And then I really like the question, Ricks, after this is if they make a trade with the Vikings, would you rather see them draft Mitchell or Fuanga at 11? And
good question.
I love Quinyon Mitchell. I love
11? Yeah.
What do you think? Even if they took Quinyon Mitchell at 5, I mean, you wouldn't catch an argument for me. I'd be like, yeah, I mean, I really like Neighbors and Harrison, but okay.
Yeah.
But
I wouldn't be
at
upset
11,
with it. Yeah.
11, I'd be like, okay, yeah, send the card. You think that's fine? I would love that. I would love Quinyon Mitchell at 11.
I would probably rather see them go Quinyon Mitchell.
Mm-hmm. I think they go Fuanga, but I would rather see.
But I think they would go Fuanga because I think they would think who's going to be available at 23.
Yeah, and then you have the opportunity for like a Cooper DeJean, a Nate Wiggins, maybe a Kool-Aid. I could see that. I could see that discussion happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question, I guess, I don't know. Do you know what's your thoughts on this? Best draft analysts. Shout out a couple who've helped you.
I really love Stock Exchange right now. I can't get enough of Trevor and Connor. They're so entertaining. They're so much fun, and they're incredibly smart. But even aside from the incredibly smart,
Estimate at one.
they're just super entertaining individuals. And man, I can't tell you how badly I want to have a conversation about the draft with just one of those guys, because they are just so much fun to like pick their brains. And they're talking about the draft year long. They're beginning to end. Like, I'm sure on Sunday we are going to get draft content for them for 2025. So I love those. I love those guys.
Yeah, me too. We've been fortunate enough to have Trevor Stickham on the show. I think now is year 4 in a row that we've had him on.
I'll get to him eventually. I'll have a conversation with him at some point.
We had Connor Rogers on when we were at Radio Row. Both, honestly, are just as incredible dudes as they are analysts. And it's so fun to see great guys like succeed from the ground up. And so, yeah, they're great. All right. I think that's going to do it. We've already gone longer than we've done in a long time, actually, but I think this is for the fans because there's been a ton of you guys in the chat here. Last thing for you, Jason, shoot your shot. We're both going to have to do this. Chargers fans go to bed tomorrow night. Maybe they don't go to bed, but their head hits the pillow at some point. Who is the newest, or who are the newest Los Angeles Chargers? Don't you dare say Latham right now. Don't you dare say Latham.
Dude, I think that's who it's going to be.
Oh, no.
I think that's who it's going to be. I'm gonna keep the faith for everybody. I'm going to say Malik Neighbors.
Man, I'm going to be insufferable tomorrow if it's Neighbors.
I'll keep the faith.
Okay. So everyone's talked about like the Vikings trading up and all that kind of stuff, but I keep going back to this, and I've thought this for a while now. Like, if it was me, like, I don't think that QB4 or even QB3, maybe QB3, like if for some reason JJ goes 3, maybe there's
talking about you don't think the Vikings are going to trade up for that much?
Yeah, would you?
I don't know. No.
So like I put myself in their shoes and I'm like, that seems dumb. Like I wouldn't do it, but if you're gonna do it, cool.
I know there's some pushback. I know Albright released his mock draft where he said they would just give pick 11 and then like a first next year and a second next year or the year after.
I kind of like.
And it's like,
to be honest,
I think that's about as much as they would give up to go get McCarthy.
Totally, I agree.
Like, I don't think they're getting 11 and 23. I wouldn't give 11 and 23 to go up and get QB4.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, because of that, I think I know they want to trade down. I just don't know if they're gonna. I mean, I know doesn't want a fair trade. So anyways.
And don't get me wrong, I would run to accept that trade in a heartbeat if it was 11 and 23. Okay, let's go. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. It would.
No,
it'd be hard. No, it'd be hard. It'd be one of those things like 30 seconds. I'd be like, nah. I'm like, but I get it. Like, I get it. Like, I think it's good for the roster building. There's rumors about like possibly trading with the Jets because of the relationship between their GM and Joe Ortiz. So like that could be an option. So you're going down a little bit less. So the trade capital will be a little bit different.
I can see the Bears at 9, like moving up to go and get their guy.
That'd be sick. But they only have 4 picks. Like I don't know if they would do that. So
take a couple days off.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna I'm gonna try to speak it into existence. Honestly, I think it's gonna go QB, Marvin Harrison Jr., charge on the clock, stick and pick. And I think it's gonna be Neighbors. I think it's gonna be a new era. That'd be just I'm hoping, man. I know I'm setting myself up for tremendous.
Oh, so you're giving the people hope? You're giving the people hope? All right, I'll switch mine back to Latham. I'll be the villain, I guess.
At this point, it's like I asked Jake this for you, and we're leaving here. I know it's dark, but like if we're if you had a choice between, you can guarantee the Chargers take Brock Bowers. So like if you know it's Brock Bowers, you can either choose Brock Bowers, or you got to go like roulette style, red and black, 50-50, and they go either Alt/Latham or Neighbors. Which option are you taking?
50-50.
You're doing the 50-50?
I'm doing the 50-50. I want the risk.
Oh, I
I
think
live
I'm going
for the
to.
risk.
Oh, bro, I would be sweating.
Yeah. It'd keep me on the edge of my seat. I'd be excited if I knew they were going to be Bowers. I'd be like, oh man, they're going to take Bowers right here. No, I'd be invested. I'd be like, oh man, who's it going to be? I'd be signing like my. That's a risk right there. Am I going to be angry for the next 365 days, or am I going to be excited?
Yep. Yeah. I think I'm taking Bowers there. I think that's too risky for me, honestly. Okay. Gentlemen, ladies, children of all ages, thank you so much for staying with us here. I know that this has been a long show. I know this has been a long ride for all of you, for all of us. Thank you for kind of tuning in with us. Say it again.
It was bright when I started. Now it's all dark in here.
Please don't let that be the preview of what's to come. We'll see.
Oh, like the episode of Kenobi where it starts blue and then goes to red.
Oh no. But honestly, thank you everyone. So many people have helped us to get to where we are, including you, Jason, all the listeners, all the guests, all the people, all the feedback, everything. Thank you guys. Enjoy tomorrow. I know it's going to be stressful once like 5:25 comes around when the Chargers are picking, but still, it's a new era. Jim Harbaugh, Joe Ortiz, like, let's trust the process. They were brought in for a reason. Let's hope for the best, pray for the best. And if it's not who you think, let's put the trust in the guys who are calling the shots to make it happen.
Say that again
for Jason
after JC Latham at 5. Let's hear you say it.
What am I doing if they do that?
What would you do?
Honestly, I think that would be like one of those situations where I'm just like sitting there with my elbows at my knees, just sitting there on the couch, just be like,
this wasn't even an option for me before like 2 hours ago. 3 hours ago.
I think I would just have so many questions, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
I just have a lot of questions. And
you got to see the rest of the draft too. I mean, it's not like
I also feel like I was lied to. I legit would feel like I was lied to about the whole BPA thing. And like, that's why, I don't know. All right. For Jason Balliet, you can find him at Centauri13. Are you keeping the 13, by the way, long term?
Yeah.
Hey.
13's here to stay.
That boy. Myself at Dan W Sports. The Chargers are drafting tomorrow, hopefully. I think at least one pick. We'll see what they do. Until then, for Jason, for LA Football Network, Chargers Unleashed, for Blueprints, Jake Hefner, thank you all so much for this entire draft season. This has been a wild ride. We'll see how they go, and we will talk to you next time on the next Chargers Unleashed.